give me my energy. It's my pain, it's my loneliness. 優しい夢は in your eyes 瞳閉じれば忘れはしない in my mind たとえ引き裂かれてももう一度この手に取り戻すまで安らぎの言葉に振り返らない Standing in my head of darkness Give me my life, give me my energy Fighting in the head of darkness Is my pain, is my loneliness Standing in the head of darkness Give me my life, give me my energy Fighting in the head of darkness Is my pain, is my loneliness Standing in the head of darkness Give me my life, give me my energy Fighting in the head of darkness Is my pain, is my loneliness
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, I guess, in case it's really late where you are, and welcome to the Comicsgate stream with Brian Martinez. That's me, also known as the Doge of Honey Badger Radio. And, yeah, I hope you guys are doing well today. I'm ready to do some work. I can't go past 1 at all. It's like a hard stop. Hard stop on 1 o'clock because I got to meet with Allison about some things. So, I hope that we're going to have a pretty special show. I'm going to have a guest on today. Moving on up. I'm going to have on Micah Curtis, who does, you know, he used to work in like journalism and stuff. And he's working on writing Englewood, which is the book I'm currently working on the character sketches for. So let me move on over to that. Yeah, so he's going to come on today to talk a little bit about his project because I can't speak much in terms of the writing. I'm just doing the character design and art, or I'm helping him with the character design, but I'm doing the illustrating part. So I did remember to call it a Comicsgate stream. I'm just going to call it that. All right, so the song you guys just heard before the show started, because I haven't been monetized yet, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So until I am monetized, I will just play whatever the fuck music I want, because I can't get a copyright strike. At least not that I know of. Is called Heart of Madness, and it's from the anime Hokuto no Ken, or The Fist of the North Star. The movie that I remember it from the animated movie, which is it's a fun movie, but it's definitely not telling the story. It's like a truncated, heavily truncated version of the manga and of the anime. But yeah, Heart of Madness is the song that plays just before Rei dies, if you guys have watched the movie before. So I'm if those of you who know me, you know that I'm an enormous fan of The Fist of the North Star. It's like the manliest anime ever, and that's why I'm a big fan. So, okay, looks like Micah is good to go, so I'm going to call him up and bring him on the stream. So just give me a second. Gonna call him on the old phony phone right now. Shaman King says, never watch. Hey, what's up, man?
Not too much, man. Not too much at all.
Hey, how you doing? Okay, good. Okay, guys, let me know if you guys can hear his voice. You should be able to. So, I'm going to share screens with you so you can see what I'm doing. So it should show up on your thing. There we go.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I'm just I've already gone live. I was just explaining to the folks that are watching what the name of the song was that I played before. So since my channel's not monetized, and I don't know if YouTube's ever going to monetize it. It just, you get to a certain number of subs, and then you can monetize. But they haven't gotten around to me yet, even though I've been eligible for like 8 months or so. I figured, well, actually, it's probably been more than a year. I figure I just play whatever music I want and don't worry about the copyright. So that's what I've been doing. So,
yeah, basically all they'll do is just send you an email about the fact that you put it in there, and that's about it. Because I did the same thing on the Micah and the Hat Man channel, I think 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what they do. They just say, you have a copyright claim. Don't worry about it. Don't do anything. It just means that somebody else is going to get the money that you would have gotten. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting any money anyway, so who cares? And then I get to listen to whatever music I want. So, yeah, so the song was, again, for those of you guys who don't know, Heart of Madness. It was the song that plays in the Fist of the North Star movie, the animated movie, not the live-action one with that one. We don't talk about that movie, so. And yeah, that's basically it. So Mike is here to talk about Englewood, which I'm doing the sketches for. And if you guys have any questions about it, just put them in there, and I'll be sure to read them out. Or Mike, if you want the link to the video, I can give it to you, and then you can look at the chat in real time.
I'm already in there, so no worries there.
Oh, okay, cool. So. Tell me, I guess just, talk about what you have planned. Like, why this project? What made you want to do a story about this?
Well, for those who don't know, I'm originally from the Chicago area. I don't live there now, but I'm originally from around the Heights. And one thing that's sort of been disturbing to me over the last 2 or 3 years was just kind of seeing a city that I genuinely love go to shit, and not a lot really being done about it. So I just kind of said to myself, it's like, what would happen if, for better or worse, like there was a Batman or there was a Daredevil or something like that in modern day Chicago? And then it just sort of compounded from there.
Yeah. So basically it's like the kind of Chicago version of a Daredevil, or like a street level hero that just sort of takes things into his own hands, like a vigilante.
Pretty much, but I wanted to have it kind of have like a modern day feel to it, because I've known how to box for about over 10 years now, and then I started watching mixed martial arts about, probably around the time I was in college, so about the same time, and that was kind of the time period where like the mysticism behind traditional martial arts kind of got pulled away. And what I wanted to do was kind of bring sort of these old school street level stories into the modern day, but not in a cringy way with like a bunch of like anti-gun rhetoric or whatever, and what everyone else says when it needs to come into the modern day. I'm like, what's a good way for a young guy to basically have extensive hand-to-hand combat experience, trained in multiple disciplines, and so on and so forth, like they say that Bruce Wayne did, and that Matt Murdock did, and Iron Fist and all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. We've already got guys walking around who are like that right fucking now, and that's, mixed martial artists. So I'm like, I should make this dude an MMA star. So I basically just had to kind of compound from there. It's like, okay, so we got this guy. If he's gonna be the kind of guy who is capable of beating the shit out of an entire group of even just guys who don't know how to fight that well, he can't just be good. He's got to be the best, and he's got to have size, and he's got to have power. So I made him a heavyweight. And I'm like, he's got to, if he's from Chicago, I mean, he's going to be black, Jewish, or Polish. And I thought about making a black Jewish Polish guy, but I'm like, nah, let's simplify
You
it a
can't.
bit.
You can make like the Serpentor of Chicagoans, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
I have the DNA of all the strongest Chicagoan races. Black, Jewish, Polish warrior. So, when you stylistically speaking, are you thinking more along the lines of like how they used to, you know, like in the? I know that it's MMA fighting, so it's not going to be kung fu. But in terms of how you make that look dynamic and exciting, because if that's the thing about kung fu, right? Kung fu looks cool, even if it isn't realistically. You know, it's sort of propagandized in China. You know, where they say kung fu is the strongest art, and it's definitely a cool looking one, but it's, you know, hard to say that it's actually like that good. Even Bruce Lee criticized, you know, kung fu styles, for example.
That's why he developed Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah,
which Jeet Kune Do has some of the fastest head kicks that I think I've ever seen in a martial art. They're so quick. But yeah, there's still, that you bring up a point, like aesthetically pleasing. Like there's some elements of MMA that are not aesthetically pleasing, like the kind of wrestler who just basically tries to make your leg pregnant. So,
yeah, exactly. Like how do you make a guy who does Gracie Jiu-Jitsu look cool when all he's doing is like pinning you down and holding you, right? And you it's like less. And I'm not saying you can't do it, because I think they done a really good job with it in, say, the Captain America movies, where he sort of adopts a lot of different things in his fighting. And
they even had George St. Pierre play Batroc the Leaper.
Yes, exactly. So there's a little bit. So this main character, what's his name? Can you give that up?
Elijah Wallace.
Elijah Wallace. Okay.
And he'll get a superhero name later, but it's going to be kind of a gradual process with him. Right.
So he's starting. It's like it's an origin story, sort of. It's like he's starting out.
Basically, yep. And it's going to be I always thought it would be interesting that there will be a point where the city itself names him. He's not pursuing a name, but it kind of falls into his lap.
He's just a guy doing a thing that he believes in, and like everyone else kind of like turns him into something. I like that. That's a good idea. Yep. That's usually how they do it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and like the things now, where they basically think, oh, it's cheesy that somebody would name themselves, so we'll have other people do it. But to actually write it into the lore, I think that's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, on the aesthetically pleasing thing, there are some things that I thought to myself when I get back into boxing training before I jacked up my knee again. That are really cool about just that you can do. Like the best way to get out of the way of a straight punch is to move to the side, but you're also, while you're doing that, you're swatting that hand away with your own. It's actually similar to hand trapping in kung fu. So that's one little thing that we're definitely going to have him do a lot, because he's fast. I mean, he's not a big heavyweight. He's not like Brock Lesnar size, but he weighs about like 235-ish walking around. Big dude. But also I thought, I'm like, most guys come from a wrestling base. So I made him a guy, studied at the U of I, was a Big Ten champion, all-American wrestler, but he likes to slam people. So just to tell the audience, prepare for German suplexes. I fucking love German suplexes.
So there'll be like kind of fancy throws, this kind of thing. Like okay, I like that. Yeah, almost has some pro wrestling shit, or King from Tekken.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's definitely got some of those elements, and there's other maneuvers that look just, aside from looking brutal, are just pretty looking techniques. One being the Superman punch, which is a fake left kick into a jumping straight right hand. I mentioned George St. Pierre earlier. That's his signature strike.
Yeah.
What else is there? And then of course there's spinning maneuvers, the spinning back fist, the spinning elbow. He's big on the spinning elbow. Flying knee strikes, which are nasty looking, but also have sort of a grace to them. Like there's, and things like that. What I had come up with is like, we have to have him not just be good at what he does and efficient, but kind of have some flash. So he loves slamming people. One thing that I definitely want to have at some point is that he slams a dude with a double leg or with a single leg takedown through a pool table. I'm like, that has to happen.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's like some shit, like some Jackie Chan shit, like, you know, using the environment and things like that. So,
yep,
you know,
exactly.
like destructive environments. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I dig that. And well, actually, you guys that are watching, if you guys have any questions about, you know, the book, and just put them through, like whatever you're wondering about. Somebody said spinning maneuvers such as the Beyblade in the sink. I don't know what that means.
I don't know about that, but there's definitely some spinning strikes in there that come more from Taekwondo that have become more and more popular. There's a lightweight fighter whose name is Edson Barbosa, and his signature maneuver is a spinning heel kick, which is one of the nastiest maneuvers in Taekwondo. And if you hit somebody with it, they're basically doing the stanky leg immediately.
Oh, yeah, like Crow Cop, is that his name?
Yeah, Mirko Crow Cop is big on the head kick, and this character it kind of is too. His kind of journey through martial arts was that, you know, it started as a wrestler, but started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu while he was in college, just as a good way to stay in shape, without doing a bunch of weight, you know, a lot of weight training that was really bad on his joints. So what he ends up doing is kind of like, as he gets out of college, he was not this isn't just some dumb jock. He was an econ major, which is part of the reason as to why in the book he's really good with business. I had to kind of find a way for Bruce Wayne to be practical without making him like a super genius. You know,
or a gajillionaire to where, you know,
which the Elijah is a millionaire, but he basically took fight purse money from winning the title and defending it several times and invested it like a smart person.
Yeah.
So
he didn't spend it all on blow and thoughts.
Basically, yes. Yeah. He's not John Jones. Though he is a little based on him, at least in his sort of his build, and being kind of a little taller, having a long style, loves to use kicks, knows how to control distance very well. Though he doesn't poke people in the eyes unless he has to. But
all right. I'm listening.
But yeah, he's that was just sort of the big challenge for me with this character. Is like, how do we make this practical? How do we make this make sense? So it took a lot of research on my end, and a lot of time thinking about it, and a lot of listening to old school hip hop, which I don't often do. I'm a heavy metal guy, so
yeah. Yeah, well, I think that I like old school hip hop. I mean, I also like heavy metal too. I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, it's good to. So what's the inspiration from old school hip hop that you're looking at?
I needed to kind of feel the vibe of being back in Chicago without having to drive there.
Yeah,
and that just like sort of that urban vibe. I just kind of need that whenever I'm writing. I need basically kind of the emotional vibe of the moment whenever I'm writing something. I see. Yeah, but like I'll pull up what I've been listening, like a lot of Method Man.
Yeah.
Because as we know, Wu-Tang is for the children.
That's right. I'm a big fan of the Wu-Tang Clan. I was hoping you would say that. In fact, I was like, oh, I hope he says Wu-Tang Clan, or you know, the Far Side, or Leaders of the New School, or Tribe Called Quest, or something like that. Like that's where it's at.
And because I'm a Republican, I was listening to Kanye a little bit too.
Dragon energy.
Yep, exactly. He's from the area, though. I mean,
he's from Chicago for sure. Actually, you know, he was what? Did you see the thing where he was at the White House and in the Oval Office talking to Trump wearing a MAGA hat and stuff? That recent thing. So there's something that he said, and I think that this is really, really stuck with me, that I find really interesting, and I think I just think it's worth sharing. Okay. He was talking about how people in his peer group, his friends, he says it there for his friends, I don't know, were trying to scare him out of wearing the hat. Somebody says, why are there so many downvotes? Do we have downvotes? Why? You guys hit the like button. What?
Might be people pissed at me for something. It's been known to happen.
Oh, I mean, whatever. It's, you know, I don't care about votes because they don't really affect me. I guess actually downvotes have almost the same effect on my algorithm as upvotes do, because it basically just gets more people. It increases the chances that somebody might come over to the stream. It could be because I put Comicsgate in the title. So, you know, it could be for a number of reasons, even though I have been doing that lately. So maybe it's not. But anyway, he was talking about how, okay, I know Kanye's from Chicago. He went to the same school I did. He graduated, or I'm sorry, he dropped out of the school that I went to. I think it was just before I did, or I kind of finished there, or just after. I think it was actually just after. I think he's younger than I am. And he was on there talking about how, for him, despite the fact that he's getting bullied and everything, he felt a masculineness from wearing the hat that he did not have, because he did not have a father in his life. And I think he was touching on something. And this is something that I've been talking about with my wife, too. And I think this is actually, like, you can see this as a trend that runs through a lot of this rebellious stuff that's happening. And I think I see that a lot in this character, too. He is like a father to the fatherless in Chicago, which is one of its biggest problems. Now, I'm not saying the book is political. I'm guessing that you're trying to avoid getting into the sort of, you know, the same kind of shit that the SJWs do with the comics now. And also,
I don't want to write America Chavez, that's for sure.
Right. Or even like an like the counter to it, like, you know, the stuff that
hero, yeah.
No. No. That's as bad, at least, you know. I haven't read it, but it looks really cringe. I think what people want is they just want good stories. And if there's a message, you know, which I know that comics will have a message. Like, it can't be empty. But if there is one, it will be something that's not, that doesn't descend into polemics, but rather sticks to ideas that are far bigger than that. Does that make sense?
Exactly. And that's sort of the one thing that, it's kind of weird, because one thing I tell to people who, you know, I lived in the country for a number of years after we moved out of Chicago, me and my family, like, and I've always just said that Chicago kind of taught me a couple things, and one is that it's fine to be different. It's fine to be not typical, and, you know, it takes a village, basically.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this character definitely is sort of a father figure in a lot of ways, because he's kind of an outsider in some cases. I mean, you would say he's privileged, in air quotes, in the sense that, you know, he grew up, his father is a well-known pastor and teacher in the area. He's a professor at a college. He teaches theology, and, you know, he grew up well. You know, he got into a really good school, not, you know, because of his grades. Like, he's not a dumb person. He's not just some dumb jock. But he had a dad. But he's also smart enough to realize that there are people out there that came up and had it a lot harder. There will be characters that I'll probably introduce later on that are on the wrestling squad at the U of I. We'll have to title it something different so we don't get sued. But
can you get sued?
I would hope they wouldn't do that to me. I have a sister who's an alumni there, but like, there will probably be characters that he'll know, and kids that he works with that, you know, don't come from good scenarios. there's one kid that you'll meet in the first issue that, you know, his older brother is a member of basically what will end up being our parallel to the Latin Kings in the book.
And they're sort of like the villains, the gangbangers?
Oh, yeah. There's...
Okay.
I actually took the time to... Well, I actually have a friend of mine who used to be in the Kings.
Yeah.
And he's told me some pretty terrible horror stories that'll be sort of put into the book.
Okay. I'm familiar with the Latin Kings. I'll just say that much.
Kind of hard not to be these days.
Yeah.
Especially up there. But I took some time. I'm like, you know, I kind of created parallels to several different gangs in the area and kind of made some movers and shakers. Just to answer, who was it? Somebody had asked about Gun Fu. Not from this character because he doesn't use guns, but there will be.
But you can come up with some
gunplay.
Yeah, you can definitely come up with some interesting villains that use various, you know, like other if this is this. Would you call this a? I know that it's a lot of things, but would you say one of those things is kind of a martial arts story? You know, like in terms of the, like, you know, that when people read a book, a comic book, they're looking for, they want to get something out of it. So some things are basically Westerns. Some things are basically like horror themed, you know, and for people who like to read, like say in the 70s when this was really popular, they wanted to read Shang-Chi or Iron Fist. Or Daredevil even. They wanted, I would say more so for Shang-Chi or Iron Fist though. They wanted a martial arts story. It is, you know what I'm saying? Would you say it's kind of like that?
Well, yeah, it's definitely got some elements of that, like old school Steve Englehart, Jim Starlin, Shang-Chi stuff. Which some people don't realize that Shang-Chi was actually co-created by Jim frickin' Starlin, same guy who created Thanos. But anyway, there's definitely elements of that old school Shang-Chi vibe. Some elements of who was it who did that really kick-ass Iron Fist run that sadly the TV show is not adopting at all.
Don't even. Let's not.
I want to say it was Brian Way. Yeah, I'm really.
Oh yeah, I think it is somebody with that name. I remember that name. Yeah, Way. That sounds really familiar to me.
Let me have a look here. But also, kind of, Christopher Priest also wrote. A lot of people don't know this. Christopher Priest wrote Iron Fist as well, and I pull it like I guess kind of my biggest street level writers that I pull from a lot. Priest is one of the bigger ones, though. I'll admit this book won't have his sense of humor, but I have a feeling if you and I get shit from SJWs about this book and they say, well, it should be a black guy writing this black character, I'd be like, all right, if Christopher Priest wants to come and write a few issues, I'm more than happy for him to do so because he's my favorite writer ever. But
yeah,
because he's a god. I mean, his Black Panther is the reason that Black Panther even got a movie. So
yeah, for sure.
But it's Matt Fraction who did who did that like Quesada era. Iron Fist that did like the 7 Cities of Heaven and all this other stuff and basically revitalized the character.
Huh. It's the wrong way. Like this. Well, yeah, man. Because that's the thing. Like, so if you're gonna go that route, what I think that means is that while you know our main character will do things his way to make things more interesting and fun, there could certainly be villains, assassins, any number of opponents that have their own way of doing things, and then you get to see what the matchups would look like, right? So if there was someone that we use gun, like who knows where you can go with it is what I'm saying in terms of like action and challenges and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's quite a few characters that I've kind of come up with that'll be foils to him in the future. And one of those is a guy who is for better or worse an assassin for one of the major gangs in the area who is a really good basically a really good foil for him because aside from being really good with firearms, which Elijah refuses to use. On top of that, he's also a skilled martial artist who has basically fought in different theaters of war all over the world. Sure. So there'll definitely be room for that sort of stuff. Like I don't want it to be so grounded that there's no room for fun.
Yeah, definitely. No, that sounds like a lot of fun because I love kung fu movies and I love kung fu action, so I would have a blast drawing that stuff out. Okay.
There's definitely certain stuff that I've been coming up with. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be cool if we did X? Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this because I don't know how much MMA you watch, Brian. But have you ever heard of the Showtime kick?
No, I'm afraid not. I have to look it up.
This was literally a move that was like something out of a kung fu film in an octagon. There's a guy named Anthony Pettis who literally ran up and kicked off of the wall of the cage, spun in midair, and kicked a dude in the face, almost knocking him out.
I feel like I've seen that in a clip. I didn't know it was called something, though. I know what you're talking about. That's like some shit you can do on Tekken.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So I thought that was kind of that would be neat. And also, I'm like, what are some other cool martial arts I could sort of have him implement? And I thought, like, well, maybe he could do some capoeira stuff at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought that capoeira's got some pretty nasty maneuvers here and there. They're not super practical, but you could probably find a way to fit them in.
Yeah, well, who cares if it's practical? I mean, you definitely don't want to, like use it in an area where it doesn't make a lot of sense. But you can certainly fit it in without, I guess, turning him into Eddie Gordo or something. So
yeah, basically. Like, if we were to compare him to a Tekken character, he's more of in style of like a Brian Fury.
Okay, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, or maybe even like when he starts grappling, almost closer to Armor King too, in the way that he'll slam people around.
Armor King's legit.
Yeah, I'm a big King player, so like King's been my boy like ever since the first game, man. Ever since the first one.
Yeah,
he does suplexes and he wears a Jaguar mask. Hell yes.
Based on some old anime called Tiger Mask.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, see how that looks. Let me back out.
But one thing I will say is he'll also use certain types of weaponry, but guns are kind of a no-go for him.
Uh-huh.
Reason being is I kind of wanted when I had that conversation with Chuck Dixon, he talked to me about that it's a good challenge to write somebody who doesn't agree with everything you do. And I'm a big gun guy. So it's like, I kind of would like that challenge. So, though he won't use guns, there are other things that he will definitely use. Batons will happen at some point. I thought Tonfa would be really cool.
Two of them or one of them?
Two of them. I've always loved that sort of style. Something that would complement his already existing skill set. Because, Tonfa are incredibly, incredibly close-range weapons. And there's been other things that I've thought of him using. Just I'm still sort of in the process of figuring out. It's like, okay, this would work. This would not work. Like, I didn't want him to become a ninja, if that makes any sense. Even though he but he'll. There will be a point where he starts. One thing he'll struggle with in the early books is stealth, because he's a martial artist, but he's not. It's not like he's a spec ops guy or something like that. He's got no military experience whatsoever. Very anti-killing. But I'm like, what else could he use that would be kind of cool? Like, one thing I had thought of was the kunai with the it's a weapon. It's an old Chinese weapon called a rope dart. It's what inspired Scorpion's Get Over Here thing.
Oh, yeah, I think I know. Sometimes it's a chain instead.
Yeah.
I've seen that in other kung fu movies.
I thought about incorporating that, but I'm like, nah, that's a little bit too much of that. But I just thought to myself, it's like he's got to have some way to like bind people, some way to take people out if he can't knock them out with one strike, and kind of to put them away. So that I'm gonna have to figure out.
Okay.
I didn't want to rip off Ghost Rider either. So.
Yeah, and I think you always have to like be aware of the possibility that you're ripping something off, and it's hard, man, because so much has been done. But
yeah,
I think that it's all it's definitely possible to come up with newer ideas. So
somebody just gave me a good idea. Bolas would be a really good one as a throwing weapon.
Oh yeah, bolas. Yeah. I can see that. That's a good idea.
But there's other stuff that I figured it would be really cool if he started utilizing them. But
yeah,
God, what was another really good one? I've always wanted to write a scene where somebody used a bokken, a wooden sword.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we'll do something with that. I don't know. I think that would be kind of neat. It's because I used to own one, and I actually had sort of self-taught myself when I was bored kendo. So yeah. Oddly enough, I had a guy in college that I would practice with too.
Cool. Does anybody any other thoughts you have on this? Like, how about making it part of we were talking about making this part of a shared universe with Bombshell as well.
Yes.
So I think that's really interesting as well. I think it'd be I find it a fun challenge because I do have some other character ideas too. So this has a lot of potential for growth for sure.
Yeah.
So and there was something about the Chicago thing that I wanted to bring up, but I kind of forgot. It's hard. I have a hard time multitasking.
That's all right. But there's other stuff like we had talked about this, but I'm like, one little thing we could do is that we could have. I think part of my fault or something I have to take blame for is the simple fact that I'm very mum when it comes to the other book that I'm working on, Project Lazarus, in regards to what's going to happen in it, because I'm super, super, super excited about getting to do everything that's in it. So it's like I don't want to tell anyone, but yeah, I gotta tell some things.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I have another idea that I haven't even told my wife about, and she's helping me write Bombshell. So, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, one thing that I had figured would be really cool is if like we I don't know how many street level ish villains would even still be alive in the modern day, given that Bombshell's set in an earlier time period, but we could have like some characters related to that. But also the interesting thing about it is that I've been trying to work in exactly how Project Lazarus could have had at least some effect, and how those what characters will still be around around the time that this story starts, and how we could work them in, basically to kind of how do I go through this here? So I guess I have to talk a little bit about Project Lazarus, which that Englewood takes place literally right now, like in the year 2018. And then onward, and Project Lazarus, that story starts technically in 2008. So it'll be interesting to see how pray tell I can work that in, but my brain's kind of blanking on me. I haven't had enough caffeine yet.
Oh, I feel that feel. So I can't have coffee without creamer, right? And my wife It's her birthday today, guys, by the way. So happy birthday to Stapler, to Lindsay. But she thought she wanted some coffee. She normally doesn't use creamer, and I was really low on creamer, right? And so she used all the creamer up, and I couldn't have coffee this morning. So I'm kind of mad about it, but she's buying me another one. So I'm like, okay, all right, well, you make up for it. But yeah, it's kind of shitty. So yeah, I haven't had my caffeine either because my wife, she ate all the creamer. Just like women are wont to do. They're just drains. Don't ever get married, people. They're going to use all your creamer up. I'm kidding. But seriously, they will.
No, just don't marry crazy like I did. Don't go down that road. Don't go down that road. Trust me.
No, don't put your dick in crazy. That's one of our mantras at HBR. So people live by that. But anyway, you were Lazarus, Project Lazarus. You don't want to talk about it too much, but
well, I can give the premise though. The basic idea with that story is, what if the war on terror was escalated by Satan?
Oh.
And how would we respond? That was so for better or worse, it's about America creating a small team of super soldiers to fight demons, and it will be pretty awesome, to say the least.
Yeah, that sounds like Broforce turned into a book. You ever play the game Broforce?
I've seen it played. I don't own it, sadly, but there's definitely sort of that. The artist who's working on it, everybody who looks at it sees different influences from it. Mm-hmm. Bob Stone, who's going to be doing the art on it, he said he got a lot of G.I. Joe feel from it, but I didn't read a lot of or watch a lot of G.I. Joe when I was a kid, so that's that was something I found interesting. But then my editor, Alex Hatman, he saw a lot of the Japanese influences that I have, like Evangelion or Devilman or things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be an interesting one when it does come out, to see how people react to it, because it's definitely got some America fuck yeah stuff in it.
I'm okay with that. Some machismo stuff.
Oh yes. But it's got some rough character development too, because this is a guy, the lead character is a guy who been in a coma for 4 years, was 18 years old, about to start, he bypassed college because he doesn't think he's very smart. He's really just a young man who struggles with a lot of self-confidence issues and things like that, and suddenly is transported 4 years into the future because of a car accident he was in, and finds out that he has basically some superhuman abilities that his dad enhanced while he was out cold, and is basically thrust into a situation basically just by circumstance.
Yeah. And
from there he has to basically deal with a terrorist group that has found a way to, for better or worse, give them or harness the power of ancient beings, and that's how the story starts out.
Dope. I like it. I think you already said this, but you have it definitely has like a Devilman vibe, maybe a little bit of, I wouldn't say Ghost Rider, but
kind of. I mean, yeah. I was a big Ghost Rider fan back in the 90s. I was first I had no idea who the character was until I want to say it was this arc in Web of Spider-Man back in the 90s called Ghosts of Venom. I want to think it was a big crossover between the Spider-Man and Ghost Rider books, and but anyway, it definitely has some of that inspiration as well, especially the Daniel Way run on Ghost Rider from back again during the Quesada era, which is the only book that Daniel Way has ever done that was really consistent. But I just liked the idea of, okay, demons come to Earth in a world that has not had that much experience with that many supernatural forces in a long time, and what would be the reaction to it? how would people try to put a lid on it, governmentally speaking? So, yeah, like that. That was just sort of the main inspiration behind it. Is like, what if? You know, what's I guess is the case with everything. But I'm like, what if that actually happened? How would we deal with it? Would we try to use some grandiose spell, or would the U.S. military instead try to use scientific pursuit to counteract it,
or blend the two?
Indeed, but in this particular case, because they don't know the origins of why two people in this group have the abilities that they do. All they know is that they were triggered by moments of great stress. One of them was the very first demon attack that was seen in the War on Terror, and then the other one was the lead character's car accident that he was in, which, like, just to give an idea of what he survived. He was T-boned by a guy going 55 and a 30 on the driver's side, and he was driving the car. And that's when his abilities kicked in. So, yeah, he's pretty crazy in regards to his abilities. He's gonna be kind of hulkish in a sense, but he doesn't get bigger. He gets denser, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Sure.
But But anyway, at some point, what I'm trying to figure out is basically how much I want to integrate some of the some of that supernatural element into Englewood, if at all, and if when. So I'm basically
at one point that'd be great, because it would basically, like, people would think, oh, this is a street level, book, and they're reading it for a while, and then all of a sudden some crazy shit breaks off. And they're like, what the fuck happened? This has taken a strange turn. And actually will likely hold more people than it turns away. Especially when you get into, Worm, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, Artemis Worm has been bugging me over and over again. He's like, dude, vampires. Like, why? And I will admit he's starting to persuade me. It's like, I could do like a Hollywood or a Halloween story at some point with the character. I mean, what I want to do is I want to look and see how they've done it with other characters, and see whether or not I think I could do it without making it hokey, if that makes any sense. Because I'm thinking to myself, it's like, did Frank Miller ever do anything like that with Daredevil? I don't recall.
No.
But then again, he did integrate Nuke into, and not supernatural, but I mean, a cyborg with the American flag paint on his face, just constantly going, our boys. So
yeah, I would say that was a little bit of Frank Miller's own cynicism towards the military, but he definitely did that. And I also was thinking about something else. With vampires, I have a villain idea. And I did some actual research on this. A mummy lord.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have it's a villain idea I have for a mummy lord that I wanted to, like a mummy of a pharaoh. That's all I'm going to say. Let's just say a mummy lord. I won't give anything else away about it. Well,
it's interesting because there will be a point in Project Lazarus where they go to Egypt, and there's an archive. This is what's crazy, like how much future planning I tend to do whenever I get my brain on a book is, I have like 2 years of Project Lazarus planned out or more. Mm-hmm. And one of the arcs was called Days of Anubis, where, where they go to Egypt and basically fight Egyptian gods. I'm like, oh, this would be great. So, I mean, just the idea of one of these characters fighting Anubis on top of one of the pyramids, like, fucking right. So,
mm-hmm.
And then I came up with another one called Gaijin Rumble, which is like a three issue arc set in Japan, with one issue of the book having no words, just a fight scene for 23 pages.
Yeah. Hey.
And I blame Grant Morrison for that one because he did an issue of New X-Men This is when Frank Quietly was working on the book. Because oddly enough, our boy Ethan had done the arc preview, or part of that same arc, I think. But one issue, no dialogue about the origins of Cassandra Nova. And it was brilliant. I'm like, I've got to do something like that at some point. So
that is pretty cool. It's a very good idea.
Grant Morrison with acid is sort of like Popeye with spinach, I've noticed. At least, I didn't even know he was a big acid dropper until Aiden told me that. I'm like, what, really?
Okay. So. All right. Well, there you go. Let's see what the chat is saying. It's 12:51. I got about 10 minutes, guys. Also, I'm listening to, because I know you hear the music, Aching Suspension. It's a synthwave mix. I usually play something in the background while I'm working, but I don't want it to be too distracting, so it tends to be, at least for me, it tends to be stuff that's kind of like lo-fi, as it were. Sometimes a little jazzy, sometimes more symphonic, but I just chose this today. So, what are they? So, oh, Neela, happy birthday. So you had a birthday yesterday. That's cool. Jade Mirror says, if we're going to be including things like mummies, were-furries, and sparkly vampires, how about ghosts? No sparkly vampires. No sparkly vampires. How about demonic versions of living memes? Okay, they're just fucking around. Not that couldn't like that, nothing but, that couldn't be done. I mean, challenge accepted.
I have thought of throwing in a couple Doom references into Project Lazarus, like a Cacodemon or something like that.
Werewolves. Somebody suggested werewolves.
Ooh, there's that actually brings something up. There was another book idea that I had of a parody vampire hunter book called Build a Vampire Hunter. That stars a werewolf who does not gain any additional fur when he transforms. He looks like Devin Townsend circa 1997 with like a skullet with dreadlocks and looks like ridiculous. So, but just a total parody because he's apathetic to everything. He's like, man, vampires suck. So he just goes out and kills them.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
But yeah, back on the Englewood thing though, it's like I thought that like maybe that would be an interesting thing to integrate. But there's also a group of a gang in this that has sort of a affiliation with witch doctors and voodoo types. So there's room for it for sure.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I actually, it's funny you should say that. I actually have an idea for a voodoo superhero as well. So I got some ideas. I have an idea for this is, I shit you not, and I know this is gonna sound corny, but I think it's hilarious. I want to do it. I have an idea for a superhero alien that looks like a member of Parliament and flies around on a disc.
Would that basically be the explanation for Nigel Farage or something?
He would be like a Bootsy Collins style guy with like he even uses music from his we would see it as, you know, music, but it's more like the way that their technology works on his alien world. And he has like this guitar, but it's not really a guitar, but because it's made out of like, it looks like a giant neon bar that resembles the Eye of Horus in a way, with like a long bit on it, and he holds it like a guitar. But it's
nice.
How he uses his powers, so, or his alien technology. But he looks like a guy from Parliament. Yes. Michael Keller says, remember? No, I mean the band Parliament Funkadelic. That's what I mean. Like, do you know like the George Clinton and all of that, the funk band from like the 1970s, with like. Anyway, it's out there.
Have you all never heard of the song Flashlight?
Yeah, Flashlight. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Funkadelic Politics. Exactly. Yes. I think they're just fucking with me, or they don't know. Some of these guys are not Americans, so maybe they don't know.
And younger than us, so there's that. Too.
Yeah, there is that. Let's see. What else are you guys talking about? We got like 5 more minutes. So I'm just doing this sketch. Does this look okay to you, Micah?
Oh yeah,
what I got here.
That's definitely
okay.
I love especially for like a flying knee strike. His legs are positioned perfectly.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna try to push further, like, you know, to really get into the action. Like some of the stuff that so I have the artists that I'm a big fan of, and I'm not current on comics, so I don't know if there are people out there that are way better or whatever, because I'm not up to date really. But when it comes to Western illustrators, some of the guys that I worship the most, that I'm the biggest fans of, are guys like John Byrne, Arthur Adams, Stevenson, no, Walter.
Walt Stevenson.
Yeah, Walt Stevenson. That's right. Simonson.
Walt Simonson.
It's Simonson who I was thinking of. Simonson's amazing. And Bruce Timm, actually, who was the guy who did like the Justice League. But if you look at the art that he has done outside of that, he has some images of Iron Fist and Shang-Chi and like these sort of fighty guys. The fighting is badass. Of course, he is the guy who does Batman, who had done Batman, and he's done some really great stuff with that too. And so I love the way all of these guys, and I know there's more, Arthur Adams already said, I think, these guys really push, what in terms of like creating dynamic action, they push it way out there because they really want people to feel the power or what in whatever's happening. Jack Kirby too, of course, who also is really good at doing that, in particular for his time,
Tim and Kirby both were sort of like the masters of angle, of making every shot look dynamic by the angle that people were positioned in.
Yeah.
They just have that sort of like that and just sort of body language. If you just look at Bruce's art, like, he obviously pulls from Kirby a lot. Like his Daredevil, especially, he understands the necessity of the larger than life feeling. That I think that as a comic book artist, like you really have to have that feel, or else everything just kind of feels flat. So
yeah, for sure. Did you we only got a couple minutes, so I'm gonna stop here. Let me save what I have though. Save. And while I might as well show you something I did. I'm working on Bombshell's turnaround. So let me zoom out a little bit. So here is the Bombshell turn. You can't really see it all. So I'm gonna put it on the screen. There's some expressions. I'm so like neurotically perfectionist. It's like over the top. But there's the that's like a turnaround. I also have illustrations of like the antagonist from the first issue that I'm working on. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to have a lot of fun with this first issue. Somebody said in the comments section, I think this is actually a really interesting angle. But I don't know. It's not to try to so dictate the direction, but they were comparing Bombshell to Elijah here, and they were basically saying it sounds like Bombshell's going to be the celebrated mainstream hero, and Elijah's the sort of like dark vigilante that people don't know the motivations of. Is that like, are you going to play it up that way? Like, is he going to be kind of like the police are after him too, or he has to keep his identity secret for taking the law into his own hands, or will he become a bit of
there's definitely a lot of Batman parallel with him, because if he were ever to be found out, like every gang would descend upon his home and murder him in an instant because he is a very well-known public figure. This is basically like he is to Chicago in the time that he's in there at like in his daily life, like Michael Jordan was back when we were younger. So like if they ever find out, he's dead. He knows it. Not just him, his dad, everybody. And but he also realizes that there's some elements of the police. His best friend is a cop, but there are some elements of the police that are corrupt and work with the gangs. And he's got he basically has to stay almost like an urban legend to really exist at this point.
And he does this without hiding his face?
He does hide his face, though.
Oh, okay. So how does he hide his face? Is it what the hood does, or is it
the hood? And he'll wear a balaclava as well.
Balaclava.
It's basically just a kind of a mask, but it's tighter than a ski mask, and it's a little bit more functional with movement because it adheres to you in a way.
I'm gonna look it up here. I want to see. Oh, okay. It's kind of like a ski mask. Will it cover? Yeah, I've seen that. Okay. Will it cover? It'd be just the same with the mouth open and the eyes open?
Just the eyes.
Just the eyes. Okay. Underneath the hood. I will keep that in mind. I did not know that, so.
And then as time goes on, when he gets sort of his second uniform, he'll come up with the guy he works with as sort of his designer of sorts will help him come up with designs that may sort of fit into with what Chicago is starting to call him, because there will be a point where he basically is called the Saint of Englewood. So
dig it. I dig it. Okay, well, it is 1:02, so I'm afraid I'm gonna have to leave at this point, but I want to thank you for coming on, and talking to me about this. I'm gonna do these more often as well. But yeah, thanks, Micah, for coming on the stream today.
It's my pleasure, man. Anytime.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. So we'll go ahead and yeah, I know, grading doors. I'll fix that. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here because I got shit I gotta do, and it's gonna be a long day. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on the Comicsgate stream. I do these every single day at noon. So if you want to come on again tomorrow, Micah, you're more than welcome to. I don't know if you're gonna be busy, but I usually do it for about an hour. And what was that?
I'll definitely have time tomorrow because I don't really have anything going on until the podcast that I do, which will be starts at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time tomorrow.
Okay, 5 o'clock tomorrow. So yeah, come on mine and then go to his. Like, take a break, then go to his podcast. And then I don't know if I got anything going on, but I'll try to catch it as well.
All right, sounds good.
All right, well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the Comicsgate stream. Be sure to leave a comment, also subscribe to the channel, and give me a like. It really helps my analytics. Or, if you hate it, then give it an unlike and then explain yourself. Oh, also, somebody said they don't know what Kirby Crackle is. Real quick, that is, if you look at a comic book where you see, like, they're trying to show what energy looks like, and Kirby Crackle is when it's, like, all these little dots of various sizes that surround, like, say, whatever the source of the energy is. Usually it's like a hand or somebody's body. That's the Kirby Crackle. It's something that Jack Kirby came up with to sort of show what energy could look like, or a type of energy. But that being said, thanks again for coming on the Comicsgate stream, and I'll talk to you very soon. All right, have a good one.